Okay, so now that we've gone over how you can add URLs and links into your web page, let's take a look at how you can add images. So for this tag, we want to use the shortened version of, well, a shorter version of image, the word, which is just img. Okay, so we want to essentially just put the opening tag, so img, and then here, as you can see, these are the options we have. We want to use src. That stands for source. So what's the source of the image? Basically, where is the file? So that's very important. We have to tell the computer where it is it can find this image. Okay. So, and obviously, if you are using Atom, all we have to do is do img and then enter, and it will actually quite nicely give you the alt as well, which means alternative. Essentially, this is the text that will appear if the computer can't find the image. So no image, for example, something like that. And you can note here that you don't need to have a closing tag like img here. That's not required because the image is always going to be just one file. So you never need to have closing tags with the image. So let's look at this src. First of all, let's find ourselves a picture. So I've basically just searched for Coding Funny, and I like the look at this image because sometimes that's how I feel. So I'm going to save the image as, and go into my desktop, HTML practice. I'm going to save it here just as my image. Okay. It's being saved as a JPEG file. That's very important to note what type of file, because if it's a different type, for example PNG or something like that, you'll need to specify this. So if we go back into the code, now we're going to put into the src my image.jpeg. I'm going to save that. Now let's try running it. So we've got my image here. And let's see if this runs. So the alternative has come up, and as you can see, the image hasn't appeared. I suspect the reason for that is that it's saying JPG file. So actually, I shouldn't have included .jpeg. I'm going to change that. So these are things to really pay attention with, because otherwise, if you're not sure, you can go around in circles. As you can see, that's appeared beautifully right into our web page now. And just to make things nice, I'm going to put a header just saying image tutorial, and then I'm just going to put a paragraph just saying this is our first ever image. Hooray! Awesome. So as you saw before, the alt or alternative, it worked well when it couldn't find the image. So if I, for example, spell that wrong, let's just put in some really obvious spelling mistake. And now I try and run this again. You're going to see the image is going to disappear. And it's just going to come up with the alternative, no image. So now let's try something interesting. Because sometimes we might have a web page with so many images that we want to keep it in a separate folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call it images. I'm going to put my image inside of that folder. So, as you'll see, even if we try and go back to my image, because it's not in the same folder anymore, it's still not going to appear. So what we need to do now is we actually need to specify the directory, so how we're actually going to get to it, the file path. So we need to put in images /myimage.jpg, because it's basically saying from this file, which is images.html, which is here, how are we going to navigate to the image? So we need to go to the images folder, and then we need to go to this image. So that's what we've said here. We've said images/myimage. So let's give this a shot. And now it works again. Fantastic. So one more fun thing, because I did describe it in the last lecture and I won't keep you hanging, and that's that we can actually make the image clickable so that it takes us to a URL or something like that. How do you think we might do that? I'll give you a second to think about it. Feel free to pause the video and have a think. So if you think about it, let's review what a link is. The link is using the tag A for anchor. Now the href, well, we can say whatever we want. We could say HTTP. I'm just going to go for the one I always use, which is www.ecosia.com. Now, usually we'd put text in here saying something like, click me, right? What if we took this whole line, take just from here, and we put all of that in between opening and closing tags for the link. Let's have a look. So I've put that in there. Let's refresh. Moment of truth. Okay, so it looks like it's clickable because you see the cursor change to a little hand. Da, 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 da. Yay! So it works. Fantastic. So just goes to show that you can actually make an image into a link. And just to make this look nice, I'm actually going to separate it like this, because it's just more easy to read, isn't it? Rather than having all that on one line, I just press enter and it's been indented, that's what we call it. I just think that looks a bit nicer, so you can see where the opening and closing is and what's inside quite easily. So just to review what we've gone over today, we've been talking about how we can include images into our web page. So we looked at the tag, which is img, and then we looked at what's really important here, and that's having src, which stands for source. And then you put equals, and then in quotation marks, the file path. If it's in the same folder as images.html or whatever you've called your web page, that will suffice. However, you need to think about the directory. So if you have to go into a folder from there, then you have to do images or the name of the folder slash the image name. So also we had the alt, which is alternative, and that's basically if it can't access the image for any reason, what text should we display? And then finally, I showed you that you can actually put the image in, you can make the image clickable as a link by putting it within the A tags. And so one really important thing to note is that if the images folder was not in the same folder as images.html, then you'd have to think differently. For example, if we go into HTML practice, let's say the images folder was in the desktop or something like that. We couldn't then just put images slash the name of the image. So that would need more thought. But for now, this will suffice. So I hope this makes sense. What I suggest you do at this point is download yourself an image, make sure you've got the file extension right, and try and put it into a web page, as I've shown you. If you get confused, I'd say the most likely problems that can arise is that either you're using the wrong extension, you're using the wrong file path. For example, the image isn't in the same folder as the script. Those would be the main two problems. And also, you might not be including them in these speech marks. You have to include them in the speech marks. That's very important. So give it a try yourself. Try making it clickable as a link as well. And once you're able to do that, I'll see you in the next lecture.